I've had to really, if I could pick one thing out of my life that's been most difficult to overcome and handle, was
Yeah.
finances, because I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
so,
growing up, I had an
good.
interesting upbringing because when we had very little, so like the deal, the coupon, or how much we saved, that was celebrated in our family, and I think there's still like a lot of value to that. So for
Okay.
me, a lot of it, like scarcity mindset, I think has been a challenge. But like in the gym industry, like I did well for myself, but the gym space, you're not making that much money
Mm.
relative to like if you're in the top 1% of other careers. Uh, you probably make 10x or more of what kind of the gym space. It's a tough business model.
Dustin, tell us a little bit about your background, whether it's real estate. I know you said fitness you started out in. Tell us about you, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. And
Absolutely.
like I mentioned to you off air, this is actually my first podcast I've done in kind of real estate, making money space. For 17 years, I was known as kind of the fitness guy, and I'm from Minnesota, but I went to school at University of Wisconsin Madison and got a degree in kinesiology, exercise science, as well as business. And I had about 12 different gyms I opened up throughout the course of those years, and did a lot of stuff online and DVDs, workout programs, blogging, newsletters, all that kind of stuff. So did that and loved it. Super grateful for it. I think I had over 8,500 clients that I worked with and my team worked with. So we made a great impact, and it was awesome. And even when I was in college, though, I think I read Rich Dad Poor Dad probably in college, like a lot of people did, and that book certainly piqued their interest. And so I started right out of college going to different seminars of Kiyosaki's and just starting to learn the process. But it really was, gosh, almost, I don't know, 8 to 10 years later, I guess, until I actually bought my first property of any
Wow.
sort. So I didn't really take action on it, but I was going hardcore in the fitness space, and that was my focus and my identity and all that kind of stuff. So as of about 3 months ago, I sold the gym to my staff, my employees, three of them. And
Wow.
and so financially, like it wasn't like a big payout or anything like that. I mean, COVID killed us like every other gym out there. But I do own the building that the gym is in, and we also have other tenants in there. So they're paying a rent payment that's not small. It's market rent, but it's a good chunk of change. And then they're paying me a little bit extra, kind of as a loan that I sort of took on myself, I guess, and financing. So
Okay.
so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. From a quick background, I've got three little kids. I've got a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, almost 1-year-old, and we're adopting right now too. So we don't have a baby yet that we've matched with, but we actually just put in for twins. Who knows? Again, the chances
Wow.
of getting it are very low. Um, but anyway, so yeah, we'll see where that goes. But we have a passion for having a big family and raising more kids and stuff. So
That's
the
awesome,
first the
man.
first three were all biological kids.
Okay. Well, I'm praying that you hear back sooner than later on those
Yeah,
plans.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
And my wife
absolutely.
works. She was kind of stay-at-home mom, and today's a huge day for us because it's our first day that we hired a nanny that's almost full time, and she's wonderful. And we're gonna just kind of see how that goes for 4 months and see if we if Tessa likes working a little bit more in the business. She's been
Okay.
very part-time up until now, and we've had real estate has given me in the gym business, I guess, the ability to stay home with my family a lot. So
Hmm.
my son's almost 4 now, and he's been able to basically I've been able to be home with them for 4 years. I probably averaged
Wow,
one
man.
or 2 hours a day of work over the last 4 years. And so it's been a huge blessing to be there so much. But I'm also at the point now where it's like I'm ready to work a little bit more and kind of, do a little more grinding, but still be very present with the family as much as I
Yeah.
can, and kind of take on that next challenge. And for me, it's like
Okay.
this rebranding into the fitness or
Yeah.
into the real estate professional space.
So what did from childhood did you have a passion for sports, athletics that kind of got you into the career of training and owning a gym essentially?
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a super healthy person from a nutrition standpoint, especially. And so, I mean, I played sports growing up like a lot of people. I wasn't an outstanding athlete
Okay.
by any means, but I was decent. And
We're not
and
going to forget the fact that you're a speed walker.
Oh, that's
You think
true.
I
You
forgot
got
that
that.
story?
You
I
remember
didn't. I remember getting burned by you on the bridge while we were in
that.
Florida. Oh
Oh,
my
that's
God, I got
hilarious. Yeah.
smoked.
So I can walk on a treadmill at least 12 miles an hour. So if you put the treadmill at the fastest speed, I can walk at that. So it's a geeky little secret talent, I guess I have. But yeah, so love playing sports and stuff. But going into college, I was actually going for meteorology. I wanted to be a weatherman since first
Okay.
grade. That was what I wanted to do. And long story short, my passion for health and wellness and fitness in my own life was really increasing during the later years of high school and then first year of college, and was starting to help other people in that capacity. And I love motivating and inspiring and educating people in wellness. And so I made a pretty big, difficult decision at the time to switch majors and kind of switch my identity of what I thought my life was going to go. And so, yeah, I went down the fitness path, and 17 years later, it was a great run.
Okay. So now, so you did the fitness for 17 years. You said, bring us to present day now. That why the transition into full time real estate?
Yeah. So about 6 years ago, I bought my first real estate property, which was my gym.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that, looking back, it's amazing to connect the dots. But at the time, things can be seem like they're really bad or stressful. My gym, I had basically 500 clients, 15 employees, 15 to 18 employees. I've had that for a long time. And we had a 3-year lease on our building that we had. Beautiful, really nice build out that was done before us. And we loved it. And then our landlord, we're in the process of signing another 3-year lease. And all of a sudden our landlord just kind of went quiet. And the maintenance guy for the landlord really liked us and was like, yeah, he'd come over and hang out at our gym and talk to us and stuff. And he's like, hey, just to let you know, the landlord is my boss, his boss, is showing your place to other people right now, behind when the doors are, when it's, at nighttime or whatever. And what happened was they put another tenant in there that supposedly was paying twice as much as we were. I don't know, but we got I got a letter in the mail, 28 days to vacate my property. And you can imagine, I got 18 employees in my life, and basically I started to scramble and look for alternative places, and it became clear there wasn't much inventory for renting. I'd have to put a massive build out in there, probably $300,000-$400,000, just to get it up to approximately what I had at the other place. And so then I looked at kind of what was available to buy, and there wasn't much to buy either, but there was a really kind of old gross 1985 office building space that was, I don't know, probably 50% vacant. And I toured that thing, and it was in good location for where I wanted. And it was just so bad, so gross. Nothing had been done on it. Right. But there was a salon in the lower level, and I actually knew the owner of it. I used to go there when she was at a different location. She moved in there about a year prior, but she did this complete renovation, like HGTV, complete gut renovation, and it looked amazing. And I was like, holy smokes, like this is what's possible. Like I've never been into interior design or construction or anything like that. I have no knowledge or experience of it. But it gave me hope that, okay, this, with enough money, this place could actually turn into be a really nice gym. And so I purchased it, and that was 6 years ago, and did a $700,000 renovation on it. Like, again, I had never even purchased a house yet at this point. I was 30. How old was I? 33. Yeah, 32-ish, 33.
Dustin, so there's some important things that you did there that probably people aren't going to catch, and I want to kind of ask you a few questions about it. You were faced with the challenge, right, in your current location. Wow, the landlord was showing the facility after hours. You got a notice, 28 days to vacate. No real estate knowledge up until that point, to the level that you probably have now.
Right.
How were you feeling?
It was
afraid, nervous, scared, like holy smokes, like what am I gonna do?
Yeah, it was all that. It was like I saw my 8 or 10 years at that point, 10 years, 11 years of my career kind of like potentially crashing down. And I'd been friends with my now wife, and she actually worked at the gym, and she was a client before, one of those stories. And we decided, and we kind of been dating, but we've been dating other people too. And it got to the point where she's like, all right, basically an ultimatum, like, hey, you got either, we got to start dating exclusively, or I'm going to go somewhere else. And it was literally like basically those days as I got that letter in the mail, and I said, hey, I got so much other stress going on right now. Like, I just don't want to focus on a relationship at the, for the next few months. And she's like, well, wouldn't it be nice to have someone to go through this with you, to kind of talk it through? I was like, oh, that's a pretty good point. And my point is, though, is like, yeah, I was like super nervous and just overwhelmed and stuff, and just didn't know where things were going to go.
So did you, during that time, did you reach out to anybody outside your now wife about real estate? Hey, where should I look? What should I do? Did you have any conversations?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I did was, and I can't remember how I knew him or came across him, but his name was TJ, and he was probably the most well-known commercial broker in Madison. And I hired him basically to help me find either a lease space or to buy a building. And so he started taking me around to everything that was available, and just starting the process. And since then, one of the things that I've learned so much, going to masterminds, different things like that, that's a huge place where I learn a lot of my education. Of course, reading books, listening to podcasts, this is great. But just like talking to, whether it's brokers or bankers or other investors, like that's where I really learn a lot of the stuff, is just kind of like hearing from them. So, its beauty is like when you're trying to buy a building from a broker or whatever, he's taking you around, like you don't have to pay him for that, right? Especially if you're on the buying side of things. So it's like free education you're getting, which is awesome. So yeah, so I met TJ, and he kind of walked me through the steps. And then once I bought the building, we had a general contractor that was recommended to me, I think from probably him or someone else. And the bank that I'm using or used for it was the bank that I've been doing all my other just personal banking on, and my business banking for the gym. So I had a really good relationship with the owner of the bank himself, the head president, as well as like the head business broker, and they're friends of mine and stuff. So that's a key relationship too. And they just kind of walked me through the steps of having a commercial construction loan and all that sort of thing, which again, none of that stuff I knew, and working with the general contractor to get this. It took about 4 months for the construction to be done. And
Dustin, one of the biggest things in that is you asked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So many people don't ask.
Right.
Either fear of asking, or maybe fear of being rejected and being told no. But let's be honest, if TJ would have told you no, you would have probably picked up the phone and called the next broker until one of the brokers would have told you yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what you did there was you utilized somebody else's knowledge. You shortcut your own learning curve, because now you are learning from somebody who's already in the game, already in the business, doing the business, all by just asking.
Yeah.
And then from there, the affluence of TJ got you in connection with proper contractors, right? He's not going to refer you to someone that's not trusted or cannot function and operate in that space. All that you did by just asking.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Man, it's phenomenal, man. There's we get so caught up. We're so taught not to ask, right? Don't ask a question unless your hand's up. Oh, this is not question time. Put your hand down, right? Thinking outside the box and just saying, hey, like there's an issue. We got to find a solution.
Right. Yeah. I maybe I got it from my dad. Like I hate getting lost. Like, now with GPS, obviously it's a little bit harder to get lost, but like I will be the first person, or when I walk into like a Menards or Home Depot, which I'm not super familiar with yet, I don't try to find whatever I'm looking for. I try to find someone who's going to tell me where to go, because it drives me nuts walking around, lost and not sure where I'm going. So
don't worry. In due time, you're going to know every single aisle.
I know it's
also going to realize that Home Depot and Lowe's and other big chains, they lay the store out the same exact way. So no matter what state you go to, doesn't matter. I had to go to Florida to get a measuring tape.
Yeah.
It's just like New Jersey.
Yeah. Nice.
Boom. I knew exactly where everything was.
Yeah. I've gone there a lot more the last couple of years. I'll say that.
So then, okay. So you got the new place, you did the construction. Did you oversee the construction, or did you have a GC in place?
So there was a general contractor that, I've only done, this is only still the only time I've done that. So I have nothing to compare it to, but I think overall, I mean, there's just so many moving parts, right, with that. And
so Dustin, just for the audience, what is a general contractor? What is their role and responsibility?
Yeah. So general contractor basically is there to bring in all the different pieces and the timing of it. So whether it's electricians and plumbers or construction or the finishers, just all that kind of stuff, working with the permitting, with the city and the planning and the architects and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of steps that go involved in that kind of stuff that you just have no idea about, but it's kind of like you take it one step at a time. And like you said, keep asking questions and keep asking and finding that next step, and you'll hit roadblocks and you figure out how to get around them. But yeah, it was a stressful 4 months, but I learned a lot, and it really gave me confidence, moving forward, that I can do a lot more.
Wow. Okay. So now you did this transition, right? From fitness to real estate. Your first experience actually in real estate was while you were in the business of fitness. So now talk to us a little bit about what your life looks like now that you're in real estate full time. What does your day look like? What are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
Let's kind of go from there. And I want to bring up that 112 unit that you're taking down.
Yeah. So I guess backing up to that first purchase. So I also became a landlord because we had like 4 or 5 tenants, and I was able to, a lot more on month to month, fortunately. And I knew this going into, otherwise I couldn't have bought it, but we were able to move one of the tenants downstairs. Then we were able to, it was an 18,000 square foot building. So 18,000 square foot office space. And we were going to occupy 11,000 square feet. So I have 3 tenants. They're still with me today. They just all signed 6 years. They all just signed 6 year again. So they'll have been with me for 10 or 12 years, and they've never missed a payment. They're kind of friends of mine now, and it's kind of like a little family, and it's been great. So I became a landlord, and I had to learn how to with leases and contracts. And again, my broker, my real estate broker, he helped me with it because he writes leases all the time, of course, for his clients. So he helped me with that process. Also, my banking, commercial banker, he kind of helped me with leases. He actually helped me write up my own lease, because I'm a leasee to my gym, or the gym is a leasee to the building. And so he helped me with write those things up. And so just kind of learning from that, and I was able to kind of avoid too many lawyer fees and all that stuff starting off. And that was good. And then I had to renegotiate like 6 months ago, all the other 3 leases were coming up. So had to do all that, and it was fun. But yeah, so what does life look like now? So 3 months ago is when I left the gym space, and but over the last 6 years, especially the last 3 years, I've done more and more into real estate. So basically, maybe I should start from there. 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, we had our primary home, our only home. So after I bought the gym building 6 years ago, 3 months later, 1 month later, I proposed to my wife. 2 months later, I got married.
Ultimatum worked.
Yeah, it worked really well. 2 months later, I got married on a beach in Kauai, Hawaii. And then 1 month after that, we bought our home. And it's actually the house I'm in at the moment right now. Okay. And so it's kind of a starter home. And, I'm all about living below our means and stuff. And we paid cash for this thing, which I'll talk about why I did that and why I don't think that's a good idea now. And so that's kind of how we started off. And then, 3 years go by or so, and we decided, at that point, the gym was running pretty well on its own. And we were basically I think our son maybe was just born or just before he was born. We had a pretty freedom-based lifestyle. We were very blessed with that. And so we decided, hey, let's put our house up on Airbnb. And so we started to do that, and we're renting out like, $300, $400, $500 a night sometimes. And what we would do is we would just travel. So again, we were super flexible and stuff. So we started traveling. I don't even know how much we traveled that first year or two, probably. I know, but when my son was 20 months old, we had traveled 16 different times, like on separate vacations, on flights.
Wow.
6 were international. So we traveled a lot. And so we were renting this place out. Basically, it was, however you want to look at it, it was paying for our vacations, or it was paying for the house. And we loved that. And so we were kind of like, we're 4 or 5 years into this house, the original house. We're like, okay, is it time for an upgrade or not? And we're super very frugal, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. I grew up near poverty financially. And so money was always just super tight, lived in a trailer house and all this stuff. And so I don't need much. I'm pretty happy with very little. And so we are saving and investing probably 80% of what we're making.
Wow.
and that was a huge key of all this kind of over the next few years. And we're basically living for free because we're getting all this Airbnb, income. So then we're like, okay, do we want that dream home? Because living in a trailer, that is the one thing from, maybe it's just a mental standpoint. It's like, I know it's not going to make me happier, but I wanted that large, house.
The goal since you were little.
Yeah. Even though I know there's a lot of problems with it and stuff too, but so we started to look at, okay, well, how about, in the rules here in Madison in particular, were of such that you can't rent it out all the time without you being there as well. So you could live in the basement, and then you could rent out the rest of the house. And so basically what it did was it opened us up to any house that we wanted. So we started looking at 8,000 to 10,000 square foot houses around here to buy. And we were ready to we put an offer in one, we didn't get it. And then we were going to buy another one full asking, but there was an HOA. They were not going to be happy with us doing it. But it kind of opened our eyes of, okay, we can, we could afford $1 million house before, but we're going to get paid to live in $1 million house if we can do this Airbnb thing. Yeah. And so during COVID, early on, actually before COVID hit, there's a house that came on the market about 5 minutes away from this house that we're in now, or that I'm at recording this. And it was listed at 1.5 million. And that was way too high for us, even if with Airbnb, I had no desire to go into that. But it was not exaggerating, in my opinion, probably the most beautiful house that I've at least been at here in Wisconsin. Just super modern, ultra modern, high end, everything. And so my wife loves interior design and stuff. She's like, oh, I want to go tour that at the open house. And I'm like, I didn't want to go, but I was like, all right, if you go, or if we go, just let the realtor know that we're just looking for inspiration. I don't want to waste our time, sort of thing. And so we went, and we're just like, this, we're not interested in this house. We just want to look through it and stuff. She's like, okay. And so we looked through it. It was as beautiful as the pictures showed. And then a few months go by, and we had put these offers in on these other houses that were $1 million, $1.1 million. And then this house was not selling yet. And so it went down to 1.3 million eventually, after about 6 months in the market. And 1.1 million was sort of my mental max.
Buy it now, right? The buy it now button.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Yeah. And so we knew a little bit of story of the sellers. She had been a client. The wife was a client of mine at the gym for a little bit. And we knew that they had already moved out. And so they're probably more motivated now to get out of there. And so this was all during the turmoil of COVID, of Black Lives Matters, all the rioting around here, and then also getting ready for the election. So there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And it just wasn't selling. And so we put an offer in at 1.1 million, and there was some back and forth. A few other people jumped in. There was this battle. Won't bore the details, but we got it. I didn't want to go a dime over 1.1 million, but Tessa was like, let's just go $50,000 more than that. And I was just like, and I justified it with a few different justifications. All right, we'll do that. And we ended up getting it at that price, and we probably wouldn't have at 1.1. So, so then we kind of moved into it, but the plan was the first and second year, at least, we were going to Airbnb that quite a bit, because there was no really rules or regulations in that area. And the lots were pretty large. They were 2-acre lots. And anyways, we furnished the whole thing, and we've got this formula down now for how to furnish things cheaply with Facebook Marketplace. It's a lot of time, but we furnished this just beautiful 5,500 square foot house, sleeps 19 people. And we furnished it with pretty high-end stuff. But we did it this is including a sauna, a hot tub, everything, right? For $50,000, we did it all. So if you had to buy all that new, it'd probably be, I added up, it was about $200,000.
So you got all this material and items from Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace was about 90% of it. I mean, we bought new dishes and stuff like that, but most of the larger furniture is probably 80 items, I think, 80 or 90 items we got on Facebook Marketplace.
So are you posting ads on Facebook Marketplace? No, just scouring what's already available on the market?
It became, to get the good stuff, especially during COVID, hot tubs and saunas were very, you had to literally get it within 3 to 4 minutes of it being posted, or it would be gone. And so every hour I was checking, and, I borrowed a trailer from a friend. And so I just had my minivan, took all the seats out and had a trailer, and for about a month collected all the furniture, put it into our garage at the other house. And then we closed on the house 3 weeks later, we had our first renters. And over the first year, it just did amazingly well. We did $213,000 in revenue. It was renting out for like $2,000 a night for a lot of the summer nights and stuff. And so overall, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, our neighbors just don't like the idea of us doing it. We've had, 1 or 2 bad groups, right, that support their thesis, but they made our lives living hell, and lots of lawyer issues and just all this stuff. And finally, we lost our permit. We got our permit and we lost it. I don't really feel like going into all the details of that, but so now we just rent it out on like a monthly basis, so we can do that. And we were just in Hawaii for the last month, which was awesome with the family, and so we had a long-term renter in there, which was great.
What made you, when you were looking at that house, what made you say like this is a good potential Airbnb home?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of data were you looking at? Did you go to AirDNA? Like, how did you decide?
Yeah, I mean, I studied a lot of just the houses. I didn't really use AirDNA much, but I just looked at, and we could talk hours on Airbnb now, but I basically just looked at all the competitors in my area, looked to see how many reviews they were getting on the platforms and what their pricing was and their occupancy and all that kind of stuff. And but we probably made more. I would say the top performing one in our county was probably doing maybe 100 to 120,000 a year. So we almost doubled that. Wow. And here, by the way, so we lived in the house for 4 months still. So we made 213,000 and we lived there for 4 months. So what we were doing was pretty nuts with 3 little kids. We were moving back and forth between the 2 houses because we, only live 5 minutes away. So I think we did 26 transfers back and forth throughout last year. 2 minivans full of stuff every time. It was very disruptive, but during COVID, I didn't have a lot of other ways to make money because the gym space just getting destroyed. And so we had the time and it was fun. We loved hosting. We love hosting people. And we literally have yet to have a non 5-star review on any of our properties now that we have. So we create a great experience and we love it. So then when both houses are rented, because we also rent the house I'm in now currently, then we would just travel again. So we get double booked and we just go out and travel. So that was kind of our lifestyle during COVID. And it was awesome. And so we did that. And then last year we purchased another house about 2 hours away, another beautiful 5-bedroom in the woods, sleeps 14 to 16. And my buddy lives over there. He's got a couple Airbnbs himself. So he's managing that one. And that one, we again did the same Facebook Marketplace buying. And this blew me away though. From the day of closing to the day we had our first guest, 9 days. And we did that, my wife and I, with 3 little kids that we had to try to keep alive in that house because we moved there for the 2 weeks or whatever.
Wow.
And we built a gazebo. We had a few other things modified, which we had a couple helpers with, and we hired a few people off of like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist to help assemble furniture if there was some stuff we had to. So we replaced all these light fixtures, just did a lot of like little light updates and stuff. So we did that. So that's going really well. And then 2 weeks after we bought that, we bought a strip mall in only 15 minutes away from here in Madison, Waunakee. And this strip mall.
How did you find the strip mall? Broker, TJ?
Yeah, so the same guy who helped with my first buy 5-6 years ago, he found this one, and it was on market, but it was the seller was his own broker or whatever. And he was a developer. He really isn't a broker and real estate guy. Besides being a developer, he's 80 years old. This is his last property that he owned. So he's just kind of wanting to get rid of it. And I don't know if we want to talk about like the numbers and specifics. We can certainly talk about
go ahead,
that.
Man.
So I'm happy with how we did on the deal. I think we got a really good steal on it, but he was motivated to sell to some degree because we found out later he wanted to close before the end of the year for tax reasons. And so I think this came out in like July, and he was asking 1.9 million for it, which I think was too high. And there was one vacancy, which supposedly in the 30 years since he built it and managed it, that was really the only vacancy he's ever had. It was through COVID. It was only 1,000 square feet. So I wasn't too concerned about having a hard time, re-renting it at some point, getting it filled. We had that. And then there was 3 other tenants, I guess, 3 tenants. So there's 5, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 total tenants. So there's 4 at the time.
Okay.
And Yeah, I thought, for us, like if we could get this for 1.4 million, this would be a phenomenal deal. And so that's what we put. So a huge difference, right? $500,000.
Yeah.
And we met him. So we walked the property with my realtor, and he was the other guy, showing us the property, and super nice guy. And we connected well. We had our littlest, like 3-month-old baby at the time with us, and just built the good rapport, I think, with him. And so we put the offer in. He said, thank you for that. And then he was kind of considering it over the course of a week. And then supposedly got another offer that was way higher than that. And so he's like, hey, I got this other offer, significantly higher. So then we came up to 1.5. So we said, hey, would you consider 1.5? And he's like, the other offer is considerably higher than this. So like, okay, great. So then we just, went on our way and started looking for other properties and everything. And then 2 or 3 months go by, probably 2 months. We get an email from my broker, and he said, well, he's coming back to us. It fell through. The deal fell through, these other. And he wrote this nice letter saying, hey, I hope Dustin and Tess are still interested and open to considering buying this property. I could tell they really care, and they're going to treat the tenants really well. Yep. And I would love it to go to someone like them. And so we had built that rapport, and kind of, without going through all the nitty gritty, we were able to get it for 1.5. And he really wanted to close. And this was like mid-November now. So there's like no one who's really ever going to be able to buy.
Yeah, that's quick to close it before.
Yeah. So we had to close in like 40 days or something.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And we closed 2 days before the end of the year. So it was tight, especially with appraisals being taken forever. Right. But anyways, we got it for 1.5 million. I got him to guarantee rent for 1 year for the vacancy. So that was awesome. And then I was able to do 10% seller financing or $100,000 of seller financing. So I guess that wasn't quite 10%.
So now, did you raise money for this deal? Did you?
No. So I had the money. So I did it myself, and and it's been amazing. We filled the vacancy. Two of the tenants, we're kind of coming up to lease the next year or two, and they both re-signed at market rate. And so I probably added 300,000, maybe even $400,000 of value in the first 4 months here that I've owned it.
Now, are these triple net leases?
They're like double net. So CAM is sort of like included in the rent, but it's not its own separate thing. So
I gotcha. Okay. So you like commercial space then?
I do. I think like neighborhood commercial, and what I really like, Waunakee it's a fast growing, higher end community. And these are 30-year-old buildings right on Main Street. So all the new stuff being built right now is probably 50 to 70% more expensive, all the new build commercial stuff than what mine is. Right. So there's always going to be a market for people wanting that same exposure. They're just not going to get the new shiny building, and for like way less rent. And so I was pretty confident. I would love to buy some more in there. And there's very few vacancies in the town for the older stuff. Like all this new build, there's still quite a bit of vacancies of that.
Do you have concerns at all, like filling the space with
No, not at all. Most of these spaces are like 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. We're not talking 10, 20, 30,000 square foot spaces. Like that I'm still not very optimistic, like on a big box, right? If you got 30,000 square feet, you're gonna have to split that up. I mean, you could get a big tenant in there, but those are, in my opinion, risky. But these 1,000 to 2,000 square foot places, like, service-based businesses, they're not going to go away. Restaurants, they're not going to go away. So those sorts of things I feel very, very confident about. And if it's in a good location in a town that's thriving.
I've looked at some, but my whole background's just been in like residential homes and apartments, right? So stepping into that commercial space, I've been just kind of like, I don't know, should I get deals that come across, but I just haven't kind of pulled the trigger, so to say, What's
great about it, in my opinion, is that, I mean, I bought this for like probably 8.5 cap actually. And now that I've got the rents back up, it's probably closer to like 10 or 11 cap. So I got a great deal on it, but cap rates are a little bit higher, and the pros, in my opinion, is it's a lot less labor intensive, right? Like the tenants stay there for 3 to 5 years. Plus.
But how do you gauge if a tenant's going to be able to survive, right? Because now it's like a business within a business, right? Yeah. Your business is the building.
Yeah.
then the next business is this person coming to your establishment to lease.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
are you looking at what kind of business they're going to set up to say, like, this is not really going to be, this doesn't look like a really business that's going to last long? Like, are you evaluating from that perspective as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most, at least the one, this one in particular, I only have to fill one vacancy. So everyone else in there, like I'm analyzing, like, for example, we had a tanning salon in there and they've been there for 8 years, which tanning, I'm like, it's definitely less popular than it was 10, 20 years ago. I was certainly more concerned about that when their lease was coming up, but, and you can't really like go and talk to them beforehand. That's sort of like not very kosher before you go buy it. But like, again, I know a lot of people in the area, so like I can talk to people and say, hey, do you know who owns that? And have you heard of how it's going or whatever? But generally, like, I'm going to assume, I shouldn't maybe assume this, but like that they're going to be able to afford their lease. Like, especially, again, these leases are not that, they're like $1,500 to $4,000 a month in rent. It's not like we're talking 20 or 30,000 a month or anything. And so the default rate on a commercial lease is so, I think it's like 2% or something, 1%. It's super low.
Really?
On a commercial lease. Yeah. So it's more like, will they renew or not? That's the bigger issue, right? But you'll have 6 months to 9 months. They'll tell you ahead of time, we're not renewing. So you'll have that much time to figure out.
Okay.
The negative is it could be longer to find a new tenant versus like an apartment, right? It's pretty easy to find someone. And you might have to do some TI, some tenant improvements on it to make it ready for the next person. And so I'm doing $9,000. I paid her literally today. I paid her the second half because the renovation's going on right now. And so, I'm giving her $9,000. But again, she signed a 6-year lease at market rate. So
wow.
I'm happy to pay that. And she bought the tanning salon right next door because the ladies wanted to sell it. And so she signed another 6-year lease under that thing at market rate, which was higher than what they were paying, before. So it was a win-win for everyone. I actually financed the sale of the tanning. So I'm not going to say how much it was for confidentiality, but I did an 8%, loan on it. She's going to pay me off in 1 year, in monthly installments. So it's a win-win for her. Like she gets,
you got the building and the seller finance note on the establishment. That's phenomenal, man. It's like double bang for your dollar, A
little bit. Yeah. And I mean, I could make better than 8% of my money, but like I'm getting her in she has phenomenal pedigree with tanning salons, and having that plus it's an eyelash extension place right next to her. That's the one she's starting. So getting back to your question, she already has one like 15 minutes away. That's been very successful for 5+ years. So she already has proven she can run a successful eyelash business. So she's just looking to expand. So she already has like a built-in clientele, and then they can cross promote between the two, right? Like, they're literally right next to each other in this strip mall. So it was good synergy. I liked her. I believe in her. And so, but yeah, you got to evaluate the industry, their past track record. I mean, I didn't really look back on her financials. I probably should have a little bit more, but I just had a good feeling about her. But you can dive into some of those things.
Your due diligence is when you're getting all the reports and everything for all of the tenants and all that's there.
Yeah, reading all the leases, that's super important. And sometimes when it's like a bigger, like I was looking at another one that had like a Subway type. It wasn't Subway, it was like Jimmy John's and AT&T was in there and a few other kind of major retailers. A lot of times you can get data on like how their sales are versus maybe others around the country, just to make sure that, hey, they're performing well. They'll probably re-sign up again after their lease is up, or they'll extend, because most of them have all these extensions. So you can't really dictate price very much on these, like it's locked in for the next 10, 20, 30 years in many cases. They might have a 5% escalator built in or whatever, but a lot of times on commercial, like you can't really change the pricing or dictate things that much unless you've got someone who's, vacancies, obviously you can then, or if their lease is completely up and all their extensions have been exercised, and then you got to negotiate a brand new lease.
Wow. Okay. So now you're both in commercial space and apartment buildings. Well, or are you in Airbnb, right? So are you looking more to get into the apartment type buildings, or are you're comfortable with, hey, I want to be in both lanes here with commercial space?
I think going into multiple, I mean, I know like the whole diving deep and being an expert in one there's a lot of value to that. I've just, for what I've seen so far with apartments is just, it's super hot right now. Right. And so cap rates are so low, and so I think it's good to be in both, and I enjoy both, coming from I do business coaching and consulting as well. And so I can evaluate and I can help these businesses too. Like, this salon, tanning salon, or the eyelash place. I mean, in many ways, it's very similar to a gym model in some capacity. So like, I love meeting these entrepreneurs, and if they want my advice, I can, give them some as well. So I like having both. And I think there's some wisdom to having both from a diversification standpoint as well. Okay. You got I think both are relatively stable. We'll see. Again, I'd be nervous to buy a big mall type thing. I think those are questionable. I think we'll figure out exactly what the highest and best use is over time. They'll probably have to get repurposed, a lot of them, but
a lot of them, like you mentioned, T-Mobile or AT&T, like, companies that have been around for a while, it doesn't seem like they're obviously going to go away. Like a Buffalo Wild Wings or Chipotle or something, where you have some of these steady shops that are franchised. The likelihood of them just kind of like saying, yeah, we're out of here is, I would assume it would be a lot less than a small, like mom and pop type of maybe deli shop or something like that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And then, those corporate leases, you guys see like who's guaranteeing it? Is the franchisee, or is it the corporate that's guaranteeing it, or is it the franchisee? So corporate is a higher, they have more money there, corporate. So if you can get a corporate guarantee on those, that's going to be better. But, not to say you shouldn't do it with a franchisee being the one. So, okay.
So now are you marketing? What are you doing to generate leads? Is it your social media presence? What are you doing?
Yeah. So two more things real quick. So catch up kind of on where I'm at now. So I then just bought, we close on next month, a pretty epic house called the Jungle House. But it was one of the most viral houses ever on Zillow.
I was waiting for the end for that, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. Now we're in it. Now go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So we were in Hawaii for the month, like I said, and my wife came across this house that was just going viral. I think it got tens of millions of views, like on Zillow and Facebook and everything. And it's an hour away from me, hour and 10 minutes away, near Milwaukee towards Chicago. And it's just this crazy house that's like a jungle. And so she sent it to me I looked at it. It was just so unique and so crazy that I was like, I think could be a really good Airbnb. It's closer to Milwaukee, closer to Chicago, which are good markets for us. Okay. And, now having 4 homes, this will be our 4th Airbnb. We kind of are good at the larger homes that sleep, again, 14 to 18 people. And I messaged on Facebook Marketplace. That's where we found it, was on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace. It was on Zillow too, but I got a hold of the guy who is the broker, and he was on a call with me within like the hour, and it was gonna be a seller finance deal. So we can go into the nitty gritty kind of stuff, but it had been on and off the market for 10 years. It's a tricky house because very few people want to live in this place. And it was listed for like 1.75 million last year, the most recent. And anyways, it's a crazy house, but it's very unique. And so this guy, he owned it. He built it 30 years ago, raised his family in it. And now he's in his 70s, and his, kids are way far gone at this point, and he's divorced. And so he's just living in this house by himself. And he's been a very successful real estate guy himself. And so yeah, he doesn't need the money. So and it would be potentially hard to get this thing appraised because it's such a unique house. Yeah. So seller financing was one way to do it. And he and I become pretty good friends now. We've spent a lot of time together the last few months, or last month since I got under contract, but he's financing, 85% of it. And he's only doing it at 4% interest, 30-year AM. So he's like, at this point, yeah. And he's like, he goes, if you got me 10 or 15 years ago, he goes, I would have been a lot tougher on these terms, but he's like, I don't need the money. I'm comfortable. So he's being very nice in that capacity with me, but I'm also taking on a really big project, $1.2 million. That's what it got relisted for, and okay. Offered full price because there were other offers on the table. But basically I had to prove to him that I knew what I was doing with my other properties. So I showed him my other properties, and he was blown away by that. And the success of those gave him confidence that, he doesn't have to take back this house if I don't pay, which is of course important to him. And since then he wants to like sell me a bunch of other of his properties, which I'm not interested in the ones he's presented me, but all seller financing, right? So you just get with these people, and I mean, I could even probably put less than 15% down on these other properties if I would have guaranteed him with some other collateral he wants. Yeah. And even now, like with the 15%, I have to collateralize actually this house that I'm in right now. I collateralize with that. So anyways, yeah, we're working through that right now. He's allowing.
So what was the media buzz around it? Obviously the house has been there for a long time.
Yeah. So,
obviously from the time I'm obviously following you on social media, I've seen a lot of activity taking place for this house. So is there something that triggered it that, you know, or something you expressed like, we're going to do this with it to kind of like gain a lot of interest?
No, I mean, basically, again, just so many news outlets picked it up. Like this house was for sale. Zillow Gone Wild. It was one of the most viral videos there. Old Houses Facebook page, I think, had like 20,000 shares the last time I checked, and, you know, tens of thousands of comments in all these places. And so just from that, and then like within 3 or 4 days it was under contract. And so like all these news agencies and people were calling the broker to say, hey, who bought this place? What's the plans with it? Just kind of like wanting stories for it. So CBS Sunday morning show, the national show, they back up, Sue. So my buddy who's property managing my other Airbnbs lives kind of close to there, and my kind of general contractor that I use, they live pretty close. And so I had them go walk the property within hours of me seeing it, while seeing it online. And they kind of like told me the pros and the cons and kind of helped me negotiate that. And so I had a little bit of, that was the only thing, but CBS just thought it was crazy that I bought this house sight unseen while I was in Hawaii. And so they flew all their New York crew to the house for the first time. My wife and I it was a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, walked the property for the first time, met the owner. And so it was really cool. And their storyline is going to be on Zillow, basically, is kind of
okay. All right.
So we're their main story for it, and I think it'll be airing. I don't know when this is going to air, but sometime in later April, it's going to air on Sunday morning, national news. And so that's cool. And then we had HGTV also approach us and want to do a story, a show on us, but it was going to be on America's Ugliest Houses or whatever. And basically for that show, they need us to they want us to basically say that we live there, like we're raising our family there, which isn't true. And I don't think it's an ugly house. I think it's unique. So I didn't feel comfortable. My wife and I both didn't feel comfortable, A, saying we're raising our family here, and B, saying that it's America's ugliest house, because I don't think it is. So
it would have the negative effect of what you trying to.
I mean, there's some like, any publicity is good publicity sort of thing. But
you're already getting the positive spin from the news channels,
exactly. So, but then I know other local news channels have already done stories on it, like when it went on sale again. So they might do some follow-up stories. And so, but it's just been a lot of people. I mean, when millions of people, see this thing, and then our network of, 500, 1,000 or 2,000 people, whatever, 5,000 people kind of watch what we do, and they see that we bought the place that went viral, then they tell their friends and stuff. So there's just a lot of buzz around it.
So what are your plans with it? You said
so it's gonna be Airbnb, and and we're already like, we don't close until May 16th, but the owner has been kind enough to let us basically do whatever we want in there right now. So like we've been sending crews in there, and in a year or two, I'll either look like a genius or an idiot for buying this thing, because it's a lot of work. It's 17 acres. It's got a private lake, but it's 5,500 square feet. It's got an indoor pool, but everything is custom, like made to look like this jungle, and fish everywhere, and just like tons of ponds inside and outside. And so it's a very high maintenance type property, and it's not been like, I would say it just hasn't been loved on for probably quite some time. And so there's a lot of deferred maintenance and just things that we need to do to make it a high-end Airbnb. So I've got it already listed live. We just put it up a couple of days ago, because we want to start renting it for Memorial Day already. So basically from the official close, I'm going to have like 8 or 10 days.
You're going to be ready? Facebook Marketplace, right? You got to go get
we gotta be. So I'm already starting to buy stuff and fill up our garages. But
now is the home kind of set away from other places? Like, is the
it's
home and the
bizarre.
location the escape? Like, that's the experience.
Yeah, this guy was, I don't know if he was a prepper or not, but like he has a 10-foot chain link fence around the entire 17 acres. And this is like close, this is city living. This is close to the city. But it's got 17 acres of just complete privacy in the
Wow.
woods and this lake. And then the house is built into kind of a hill. So half of it's underground or like covered. So it's just a weird kind of, it's an earth home. It's an eco-friendly, very
Man, you can put some ATVs in there, and if people want to,
we're gonna
swipe the card to rent the ATVs or whatever.
We're cutting a bunch of trails in the next couple of weeks, so probably a few miles of trails in the woods on the property, and it butts up against 1,000 more acres of kind of I don't know, state land or wildlife stuff. So it's a really interesting, unique space. It's a lot of work. So we'll see what it rents for. I mean, I was initially shooting to try to get 3,000 a night for it. We may still get that. I don't think without any reviews and without our own pictures, because right now we're just using the pictures from so that's it's limited on what we have, and we're not, we can't style it yet and take our pictures. So we may have to reduce the price a bit to get some bookings, but I think it's gonna go pretty well. But just like cleaning the place is a nightmare, and it's just a lot of logistics involved in a place that kind of looks like a jungle and
wow. It's gonna be a neat experience, man. I can't wait to finish it. And I mean, April 11th, Memorial Day's a little over a month away. Man, you got some work to do, man.
Yeah, got a lot of work to do. Yeah.
So, all right. So now
I got that, and then the apartments. You want to talk about the apartments?
Yeah. Tell me how you was it a broker? Here's kind of what one thing people struggle with, right? And this is only usually a problem for the short term, right? How do I find a deal?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Should I spend 10, 20, 30,000 in marketing? Do I go just talk to people? Like, how did you get the ball rolling to get to the 100?
Yeah, so probably a good place to start would be even before I knew I was going to be a full-time real estate investor. Like, this is only like 5 months ago. I knew this is where it's kind of going. And so I'm all about networking and, basically taking all the skills that I learned owning a gym for 17 years, which I believe owning a gym is one of the hardest businesses around. And so I just started like connecting with as many other banks. I started to develop relationship with other banks. I think that's a good tip for real estate investors early on, especially like, you want to have a relationship with your banks, but I don't think
like local banks, big banks.
Yeah, I've never,
unions.
all of mine have been local. So I can't speak to big banks. Like I know these people very well. And so I now work with about 4 different banks. But I have like,
so what do? You call them and say, hey, you want to grab some lunch or?
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, I've bought X, Y, and Z already, or I'm looking to buy, I've got X amount of money. I'm looking to buy something with you guys, show them that you're serious and say, hey, I'm looking to start a relationship with it. I've got some deals coming up. I'd love for you to take a look at them and see kind of what terms, or if you like the deal, if it's something that you want to be part of. And so I just started doing that with a bunch of brokers, of commercial real estate brokers, lenders. I got a couple of credit unions now that I'm starting to work with too. So they offer some things better than others, better than banks that I've found. And then like all like the commercial real estate brokers in town, I just started to like get together with them and say, hey, I bought X, Y, and Z in the last 5 months. I'm trying to buy $20 million of real estate this year. So give me some deals, ideally off market deals. And so I've just been doing that and been getting quite a few leads. This particular one on the student housing project. So it's 112 bedroom student housing. It's about an hour away from here. So it's a smaller town. It's a University of Wisconsin state college. And it's only like 13,000 people, and half of them are students. So it's kind of a small farming community. It's about 15 minutes away from a pretty large, 100,000 people. I'm not sure exactly, but decent size, very growing city. So people can commute to there. But my buddy, he's a broker in town here, kind of a small boutique broker. He also owns like 100 units of apartments himself, or 200 units. And we've kind of become friends. And so I was like, try to find me a deal. And so I've been asked for like 6 to 12 months. And he had just bought like 80 units himself. So he isn't in the position to buy right now. And he found this deal. Basically, it went on market for one day, got a full price offer, and then only to find out that the person didn't have any money. And so it was going to go back on the market, and my buddy knew the broker of the seller, and the broker called him up and said, "Hey, tomorrow this is going back on market. You might want to come look at it." And so he did. And he calls me up right after. He goes, "Hey, this is the best deal I've seen over the last couple of years." And so we kind of like did like 6 hours of due diligence. And I'm trying to remember if I was on vacation for this or if I was at home, but either way, I bought it without seeing it as well.
Okay.
And but I trusted his eyes. And so I got that. And like by the time I put the offer in that evening or that next day, there was like 3 other offers on the table, and they were all as good, if not better than mine, from what I was told.
Okay.
But basically, again, it comes down to relationships. Like, I want to buy $20 million this year, and I'm committed to doing that if I can find the deals. And so this other broker is a young kid who's just crushing it right now. And so they vouched for me and said, "Hey, Dustin can close. He's going to be low drama." But then also my broker, my friend, told the other guy, "Hey, we'll do a lot more deals with you in the future, right? If we can, if you can get this going." So it's all about kind of that potential and painting the picture. Like, this is not the only deal that's coming down the pipe. And so he was able to convince the seller that I was the best option for him. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got it. And I think it's going to be a really good deal. It's like a 6.5 cap right now, but we believe that rents are like, they're $250 a bedroom right now. And we think market rate is $375 at least a bedroom, without doing any updates. It's just been like not marketed well. And so and I didn't have a property management company. I wasn't going to do, I've never, managed 112 bedrooms. And my broker said, "Hey, I know this guy. I've actually never met him before, but I've heard good things about him as a property manager. Here's his number. His name's Chris." And so I called him up, and Chris, now over the last like 6 weeks since we got connected, is like my new best friend, and just been blown away.
I bet he is.
Yeah. But he manages about 1,700 apartments himself and owns. And
wow.
He has some of our student housing as well, or not mine, other of my friends' student housing. And so he came well recommended from that. He's only 28 years old or 29, but his dad owns about $500 million of apartments. So he grew up in it. But he wasn't able to, like, his parents basically said, "Hey, if you want to start a property management company, you're not going to manage any of our properties, at least for a while, until you prove yourself." But he's young, he understands technology and efficiencies, and he's just obsessed with optimizations and stuff, and just a really bright guy. So he already has a little bit of properties in Platteville already. So it's going to be pretty easy for him to plug into that community. And so he's the one that's going to be managing it. So in the course of like 6 to 8 hours before I put the offer in, I found him, because I wasn't going to put an offer in if I didn't know who was going to manage it. Right.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you could figure that out afterwards, but especially for my first one, I wanted to know kind of who was going to do it. And now I'm in the process of trying to buy more in Platteville, because if you can kind of, if I can own,
like synergy,
if I can own 10 or 20% of the market, of the rental market, and I can have a little more leverage on it, as well as some efficiencies. Right. So I'm actually going to go see a bunch more properties right at closing, which is tomorrow. So We'll see. But yeah, so that was a syndicate deal though. So I had the money to do it myself, but that would have tapped me out pretty well.
Okay.
And so Tim Bratz, which I know we're both connected with, he's been a mentor to me, but also a friend. We vacation together as families, and he, I've invested significantly, a lot of money with him, and I've seen kind of how he does it. So by me investing in his deals over the last three years, I've kind of seen the back end of things and the behind the scenes. And without having done that, there's no way I probably would have done what I just did. And so I raised, I only needed $600,000 for this raise. And basically, like, I did 2 Facebook posts. So I'm pretty active. I was pretty active with social media when it came to fitness stuff. And I've just kind of transitioned into not only real estate, but teaching people about passive income and just money management, like spending your money wisely and being frugal in the right places and all this kind of stuff. I just love talking about it. And now that I'm out of the gym space, like I feel like I can freely talk about that kind of stuff. And it's been very well received, I would say. And I just did, what I'm most proud of is, like, again, I was branded as the fitness dude for 17 years. Now I'm the money guy. And, but with 2 Facebook posts, I had 100 people want to look at the deal to invest with me. And I had, so it was like either you could invest $50,000 or $100,000. But I had so many people want to get in that I said, okay, you can't do 100,000. It's just only 50,000. So there's 12 people that can get it.
Okay.
And I had to turn down almost as many people as I said yes.
So this was from your built up network, from your fitness side, from your
just kind of everything, right? Like, I mean, I'm kind of in entrepreneurial circles as well, but fitness. But so a lot of my clients, past clients, I should say, were like wanting to invest. They've seen the integrity I've had and how I've managed my own money. And, even with just the real estate I have in the past, like it's bringing in enough money that literally we could retire basically, right? It pays for our bills and our living expenses and then some. So people have seen that and they're attracted to that, and they see kind of how we live our life. And so it's been really cool to see that transition. But I don't believe, maybe I asked one person specifically, like directly, like, hey, do you want to invest in this? But everyone just came to me, which was extremely humbling. I'm still like so grateful for it. And I think taking someone else's money is a high level of responsibility. And I don't take that lightly. I mean, I take my own money very seriously, and this is even more so. So I'm grateful and honored and humbled that they would consider, especially for my first deal that I'm raising money for. Now, obviously I've made good picks so far in the 6 years I've been doing this. I haven't made a bad pick yet. So we'll see. But so I raised the money, did a 506c fund. So it's for accredited investors only. And that prevented some of my people from being able to do it. But I wanted to be able to like blast it out on social media. I have a newsletter now that I write, kind of a money newsletter once or twice a week, kind of whenever I feel like it, and talk about real estate, or talk about saving money, or like, just different hacks on different things, different traveling hacks. And I love doing it. And it's fun to talk about these things that I used to only share with my friends and close family and stuff. And now I can share with more people.
Yeah. Newsletter's fun, man. We've got one going. Just sharing information, like it's not always just about the deal, right? Like it's, hey, like this is what's going on. These are things to avoid. Like, man, this is what happened over me over this past month. Like, you might want to avoid this kind of a situation. Right. But no, I agree. So writing a newsletter has been great. Just having the opportunity, like this conversation, having an opportunity to discuss it, and to kind of just showcase how different people do things differently, right?
Right.
A lot of people, you're building your database through your networking, right? You're meeting with brokers, banks, people in masterminds that can potentially bring you deals. Other people are, hey, getting a list and then marketing it, mailers or maybe cold calling, whatever the case may be. So there's different ways, but the most important thing is what we're going to be consistent in, right? Right. You're consistently networking, and that's how it's helping you. And then through your networking, it's exposed you in a positive manner to folks who would want to invest with you, because even though you may not have, let's just say you don't know some of these 12 people, but like the way you may know Tim, where you may hang out, but through social media, you've built a level of trust with them that they've seen your track record, because you've been posting, oh, I did this commercial deal. I bought the gym. I bought this crazy house that's like a jungle, and we're going to do this. So they see your track record, and it's easier for them to decide like, hey, let's get in on this deal as long as the numbers make sense. Yeah. And I'm like, I try to be, so when we went to Hawaii for the month, I kind of like talked about how, I mean, there's different ways we could say we afforded it, but like we were able to rent out all three of our homes for like I think it was like $27,000, which is in the wintertime here, which is the lowest season, right? So I think we rented out all three houses for like $26,000. So it paid for, our trip over there. But yeah, I think just being, again, like I'm pretty comfortable sharing, there's probably certain numbers and specifics that you maybe don't want to, shouldn't share, but like I'm pretty open and honest with everything. And I also try to share the failures too, or the challenges. But people appreciate that, I think, and not many people are like comfortable sharing that stuff. So I've never had I don't know, I'm not a very private person, I guess. So I'm okay kind of sharing different things that a lot of people don't feel comfortable sharing. And there's tons of obviously YouTube videos and channels out there. Like I appreciate when people kind of share the nuts and bolts. I mean, I'm a math kind of
numbers guy myself, right? There's probably a lot of real estate people are. And so like, it helps me like see the numbers and everything like that. So I appreciate when other people do it. So I'm just trying to return the favor and do what I want to see others do.
Okay. So we
But
went
yeah,
through
it's been fun. And I guess to kind of maybe wrap up or to summarize.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
one thing you're kind of saying my strategy.
The last E, right? Which is the enrichment, right? Now, you talked about how real estate has enriched your life. And I know now in the beginning you mentioned, you're looking to adopt. Obviously you're gonna bless whatever children get to come into your home with between you and your wife and your current 3 children. But are there other philanthropic items and things that you want to do with your life, or do you have some visions that you kind of want to start thinking about?
So we're pretty active in our church, and we support like a lot of missionaries and different things like that. And we try to be as generous as we can. And sometimes we're better than others. And so it's something that I always want to try to stay on top of and not get complacent on. But yeah, like being able to, whether you see like a GoFundMe campaign or, someone is struggling, they need a few $100 here or there, like those sorts of things are really cool. What we're also, it's not super philanthropic, but we love opening up our own home to like either people to stay with us or like to have dinners at our place. Like we have probably twice a week, we have people over at our house for dinner. And, that's, again, it's not really philanthropic, but we're inviting people that maybe, I don't know, we normally wouldn't have over, or just like different groups of people. And so that's where we put like a bit of our budget is just like in the entertainment and support of other people in that capacity. But I think as our kids get older and stuff, we'll come across like their friends or others in the community. And we try to do stuff again throughout the community as well. But I want to really help other people be better with their money and either earn passive income or just like get out of bad mistakes they've made in the past. So that's kind of, one of my ways I want to be sort of like giving back, even though that could look like a business or just free content or whatever. But, we're just not really taught much in school about this. And
so how did you learn, Dustin? Right. So
yeah, I mean,
I asked that question because I struggled with it and at times still do, just being very transparent, right? Growing up, we didn't grow up with a bunch of money. It was, I had everything I needed. Don't get me wrong. My parents did a phenomenal job. I wasn't living out in the streets or anything, but where you may see more well set up families living better off, right? So money management wasn't something that we grew up with. I've had to really, if I could pick one thing out of my life that's been the most difficult to overcome and handle was finances, because I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. So growing up, I had an interesting upbringing because we had very little. So like the deal, the coupon or how much we saved, that was celebrated in our family. And I think there's still like a lot of value to that. So for me, a lot of it, like scarcity mindset, I think has been a challenge. But like in the gym industry, like, I did well for myself, but the gym space, you're not making that much money relative to like, if you're in the top 1% of other careers, you probably make 10X or more of what kind of the gym space. It's just it's a tough business model. And so being as frugal as I was and cheap as I was really did serve me. But it also can hinder me too. So, but my dad especially, he was super like Republican, and he was like, we were on different government programs and stuff. And he would just always be so grateful for the rich people who paid so much of their taxes. I know everyone says the rich don't pay their taxes, but they still pay most of the taxes. It might be a lower percentage potentially, depending on how you look at it, but of their income, but they're paying a majority of everything, right? And so I never had this complex around like building wealth or having money. Like it was never like the wealthy or evil, like a lot of people have. So that helped me in that capacity. But really, I think what happened was I got into different circles in fitness, business owner space. And I hired coaches right off the bat, like national people, and joined masterminds and stuff. And so I was around like the most successful in that industry. And then I started to kind of like, within those groups, I was probably like the most successful in those, I guess, for quite a few years. So then I joined other mastermind coaching groups that were outside of the gym industry, where these people have these huge businesses, right, and stuff, and they're flying to the meetings in their private jets and everything. And so I got exposed to that kind of stuff. And when I was around that enough, like I'm like, oh, these people are, they're no different than me, and I don't think they're any smarter than me. And so it just kind of like I don't say normalized it, but made it so it's not as overwhelming. And just
Yeah.
interesting, like looking back to my first deal, buying the building of the gym, now doing these $3 million, $4 million deals, looking at even bigger deals, like the numbers that once made me nervous are like kind of like, oh, whatever, and so like to buy like $1 million house now, just like I don't even really get like, I don't know. I'm not like nervous about it, I guess, or it's like oh,
Yeah.
like we'll put our shoes on today. We'll buy another house, sort of thing. And 6 years ago, buying a $300,000 house was a terrifying new experience for me. So it's just crazy how that happens, right? And if you're doing this interview with me in 3 or 5 years, hopefully I say buying a $10 million or $20 million, piece of property is just like, it's just like, just another day in the office. So
Another day in the office. I hear you, man.
yeah,
I
that's
hear
kind
you.
of, and sort of like strategically, sort of what I'm looking to do is I kind of want to be like the person that does a lot of things. So I might eventually, because my background is in direct response marketing and having lists and stuff. So I might do the outbound marketing or have a team of people that call or whatever business, property owners and do direct. But I want to find people who have money, who want to invest, right? So I'm using their money. I want people who want to own their own stuff, and so do some wholesaling. And then I want all these brokers and property owners to know that, hey, Dustin's the guy that can either close the deal himself or can find someone to give it to. And so that's sort of one of my goals, is to like just build this reputation of being able to be a closer or to be able to be a facilitator.
Yeah.
And that's the way deal flow will come to me, very, in high quantities. And, if you got the deal flow, you can pick the best deals. And then if you got good deals, there's really an endless amount of money available.
You already probably are aware of this when I say this, but your brand, your personal brand is going to you already have it from your fitness side. I don't know if we were having this conversation of starting to post because you had the fitness side. Should you create another account, so on and so forth. Yeah. But your brand is going to help you bring so many leads and deals in that the traditional marketing won't even compete with you, because like you said, Dustin's the guy. Like, just take it to him, he'll get it done, right? Or Amit's the guy.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping, and I think that's going to keep taking more to do. But as long as it stays fun, and so the goal is, and it's going to be extremely challenging to do this. As I grow this, like, what do I say yes to? What do I say no to? Like this Airbnb, this crazy jungle property. Like right now, because I'm trying to save money on, like, I'm going out there on the weekends, right? And we're having babysitters on the weekends, and so short term, I think it's okay to kind of do those things. But I always got to say, like, is this going to be a slippery slope to getting me to a place where it doesn't fit my lifestyle? And I think that's an important thing for all of us to be aware of.
Agreed.
Don't, if I'm making $1 million a year, but it's not the lifestyle I want, I'd rather have whatever it is. That's something I'm just gonna have to be really aware of and say yes to certain things, say no. And maybe I have said yes to some things that I realized later I should have said no to. And I got to be okay, whether it's selling it, even if it's for a loss or whatever it is, like just finding a plan B.
Long as you have those goals, it'll keep you at peace, just knowing what like for me, it's a similar thing, right? Like I want to do $1 million net a month, right?
Awesome.
So that's a goal. B, I want to have freedom with my time. Now I have that. But what's happening is the business is starting to get more happening. I'm having to do more. But I wrote this down in my journal this morning. How do you live like the person that you want to become, right? How do you live now like the person you want to become? And so I've been doing a lot of meditating and praying and thinking on that, because it's no sense in trying to live when you get there. Let's start working on that now, right? Like bringing in people, employees, and starting to let the team build out so that the company can grow, and then I can get some of my time back as well. So it's a ever evolving process for sure.
Yeah. And I think also part of my other goal is also to be enjoying and be passionate at what I do. So, obviously there's moments and days where you don't love what you're doing, but overall, like, it's got to excite you, because like for me, like the last 4 years I've been able to, pour into my family and spend, 18 hours a day, so whatever, 16, 18 hours a day with them. And it's been amazing. But I also, like, I'm an entrepreneur and I have that drive. And so I've been doing a lot of Ironmans over the last 5 or 6 years. So I've been kind of getting that, training 15 to 20 hours a week, most weeks for all year. And so I've been pushing myself in that capacity, but I haven't really pushed myself for a few years, business wise, entrepreneurial. So that's why this is all exciting and new.
Oh, you got the fire lit underneath of you right
Yes,
now.
exactly.
I know you do. You're itching to you're probably you might eclipse that $20 million mark that you're trying to hit this year.
We'll see. You say, and I got to be like, even if money's coming in for me, to do these deals, again, I got to be disciplined to hit my numbers, right? It's like, you can't say yes just because, or can't massage the numbers to say, hey, this is what we're going to actually be able to pay out to our investors when it's probably not going to happen. So you got to have that integrity and that, I put an offer in on a really beautiful strip mall last week. It's listed for 4.3. It's an off market deal. Came in at 3.7 and they countered with the exact same offer that the initial offer was. So they had no wiggle room at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, that's fine. Just walk away. And I didn't even come back to it. So maybe they'll come back in another few months, just like the other one did. But,
well, Dustin, listen, I know that we went a little bit over on time. I appreciate you keeping the time with me.
Yeah.
How can folks get a hold of you? What's your social media?
Yeah. So I still right now, I only use like my personal Facebook page, which I'm always like deleting people that I haven't interacted with for a while because it's always at the 5,000 max. But or you can follow me on Facebook. So Dustin Maher, Maher. I don't really have I think I have an Instagram account, but I haven't really done anything with it. I'm a simple guy. I got that in my newsletter. So if you I don't even have an email address. I use Dustin Maher Fitness is my personal right now. So it's Dustin Maher, Maher Fitness @gmail. I will eventually have a second email that actually talks about my real estate professional now. But yeah, those are kind of the two ways right now to connect with me. And if you want to get my newsletter, I send out, once a week or so. Happy to get you on that. And if you're looking to, be an investor, if you're an accredited investor, I don't have any deals right now for you, but I'm always looking. So feel free to let me know and I can add you to my list for that.
Sounds good, man. I'll shoot you over some of the deals that I have going on. Maybe you can, maybe your guys might be interested in it. We're actually buying 14 units in Miami-Dade County, North Bay Village, right on the waterfront.
Wow, nice.
I'll shoot it over to you, man.
Take hot properties over there.
Yeah, we're getting some deals out of there, man.
Yeah, impressive. Awesome.
Yeah, but cool. Dustin, I appreciate you being on. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Yeah,
and hopefully you'll be in Colorado and we'll meet up.
We'll hopefully meet up soon.
Take care, brother.
All right, take care. See ya.
Yeah.